I think we're live, bro.
We are. We're live.
What's happening?
What's up, dude?
Happy day after Bitcoin Slash Day.
Yep. And we got another all-time high today. So
it's like you come on stream more often saying it's an all-time high day than, hey, we're going sideways or we're dumping, right?
Very true. Very true. That's always good.
The bear runs are like a day and a half.
Yeah, or half. Yeah, exactly. Or we
like go 12 hours.
Not even that. It doesn't seem like 30 minutes. It looks like.
Yeah, we are definitely at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
So hey everybody, I'm tired as hell, man. I was up late last night. I was hoping for a pump and it never pumped, but then I woke up and it was pumped.
Yeah, until this morning.
But I was up late, man. And then you called me up and told me that our boy wants to get on with us today. So we're doing
still
back to back streams. But you're the hardest working guy in Hex, so it doesn't matter to you. You're like, dude, I can do an extra stove standing on my head, man.
Exactly. And plus with good texture, guys, if you guys haven't noticed or haven't seen good textures on our stream today, is freaking awesome. He's just one of the most brilliant people that I've been watching lately.
Yeah, I got some questions for this cat, man.
Haven't subbed to his channel yet. Go and check him out.
So I saw him the first time he got on stream, or first time I saw a stream, and I was like, look at this guy, man. He is smooth as shit. And then when he started talking and started laying some things out, he made me think, and I was like, oh shit, man. And then you were like, we got to get this guy on, man. Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead without any more stroking him. We'll bring him up. Hold on a second. Hello. What up, Mr. ASMR of Hex? How you doing?
What's going on, guys? How y'all doing?
Pretty good.
Good, man.
Good deal.
Same all. So I guess we always ask the people or everybody that comes on, how did you find out about Hex? What was your what's your story?
Tell us your crypto tragedy story.
I know that you're into other you know a lot about other coins as well. If you post about some other XRP or XLM, you're the man to go to because you know everything about some other coins. So yeah, let's hear it. I'd like to hear it.
I've got a tragedy story. I really do.
Let's hear it, brother.
I might share that one. But let me. Your first question was how did I find Hex? I found Richard Hart probably last year, 2019, something like that, and started listening to him. And I was like, man, this guy is really smart. This guy really he really puts things together in a way that make a lot of sense. So I started following him. I watched several of his videos. And it was probably 2018 when I found him, actually, because there wasn't a whole lot about Hex back then. And back in January, I saw something on Twitter about how this guy that I remembered being super smart, Richard Hart, had come out with a new coin called Hex. But every single tweet, everyone that I saw was complaining about how it was a scam. Everyone.
Yeah. And
I just kind of brushed it off. I was like, oh, well, yeah, I guess Richard pulled a fast one on everybody, and I didn't look that much into it. And then on April the 18th, I saw somebody tweet that big green candle, and I said, wait a minute, I don't care what people say this thing. I've got to look into this a little closer for myself. And immediately right then, I dropped everything I was doing and started going to Richard's videos and saying, okay, let's get back in with Richard. I remember he's being a smart guy. Let's see what he's got to say about this. And within 30 minutes to an hour, I was like, this is the coolest thing that I've seen in more than half a decade. And then, I mean, that was it. I was like, all right, guys, I'm in. This is amazing. Because what happened was the coolest thing that I ever saw in crypto was back in the day, there was this exchange that was available in America called Bitfinex. And on Bitfinex, you could deposit your coins in and loan them to other people and collect interest on it. And I was like, man, this is so cool. But I eventually just didn't mess with it because of the counterparty risk.
Right.
And man, I'm not sure if I should tell y'all my sob story, though. It's
let's hear it, bro. Everybody has one.
Bring it, brother.
I
haven't even told all of mine.
Man, this is deeply personal stuff. I don't know that but I'll go through with it. I don't think I've shared this, but man. So let me see. I first learned about Bitcoin back in 2010, and the reason was I was in college at that point, and back then people were only using it just to like buy drugs and stuff. So I heard of people in the college that were using this thing called Bitcoin to buy drugs, and I was like, okay, it sounds like a scam if it's a deal with if it's affiliated with drugs. So anyway, I didn't pay any attention to it for about 2 years. Fast forward to 2012, and I started. I was working a job that I didn't really like, and I was like, why am I working this job? Like, what am I really doing here? Why am I working for this money? What is this stuff? So I started researching like, what is money? And this was like early 2012, summer 2012. I was like, what is money exactly? And then I got into the whole learning about what silver is and learning what gold is. And then, so let me, I got to say this before, so this will make sense. I've been programming since I was a kid. I started programming when I was like 12. I started really hardcore programming when I was like 15 or 16. Went to college, got a, and y'all shut me up if I start talking too much.
No, yeah,
started,
it's enjoyable, dude. Yeah, we want to hear about it. You're good.
Okay. And
Hexo's got a man crush on you, so.
Oh, jeez.
So back, I was one of the back when Linux was really hard to use. I was using Linux as a teenager. I was just full on computer nerd, and went to school, got a computer science degree, specialized in cryptography and security while I was in school. Damn. So I had a very strong cryptography background. I had a professional cybersecurity engineering background. So in 2012, when I learned about the fundamentals of money and what it was and what hard money was, and then all of a sudden I see Bitcoin, I'm like, oh man, actually, I have the potential to understand how this thing works. So I start following it regularly in 2012, and then late 2012, early 2013, it starts moving. When I first started looking at it solidly in 2012, it was $5, and it stayed $5 forever. That's what we called it back then. We called it $5 forever. And it started moving in early 2013. And then it started moving some more, and then before you know it, it's $20, and I'm like, what the hell is going on here? This thing's really moving. And I dropped everything I was doing. I dropped everything. I built as many Bitcoin miners as I could run in my house. I maxed out every breaker that I had. And I was running GPUs like there was no tomorrow. I was pulling in a good amount of Bitcoin. And it just kept running, went up to 266. And by that point, by the time it hit 266, that was my life. And ever since then, it's been everything to me. Crypto's been my life since then. And by the middle of 2013, I said, well, this is gonna be a sad fucking story.
Because it sounds really good right now, man. You're about to break my heart.
I don't know how this is sad right now.
It's horrible, man. It's terrible. Man, I'm gonna bust out in tears here. No,
hold hands.
Yeah, hold hands, folks. No, mid 2013, I'm like, okay, I'm all in. This is everything, and I took everything I had and got in hardcore. I mean, I was a Bitcoin maximalist, Bitcoin to the moon. There is nothing that can ever stop us. And it, while I was all in, it ran to $1,000, and that was everything I had. That was my entire life savings, and it ran to $1,000. And I was like, it got to 1,000, and I had this mentality: I'll never sell, never, ever, never. Well, the bear market was rough. It was very rough, and it came down in 2013. Started falling, and by the time 2015 happened, it was back down into the hundreds. Yeah. So it had taken a 90% drop. And at that point, I had been studying and understanding Bitcoin for so long that I understood that it was broken. I understood it was terribly broken. I understood that it was not fungible. I understood that every single coin movement was fully traceable. I understood that all of the price movement had probably been manipulation by whales on Mount Gox. They call it the Willy bot back then.
Mm-hmm.
And the main thing was I didn't think it was upgradable. I didn't think that it would ever see a TX rate or a transaction rate that was that would make it usable in any way, shape, or form. So what happened in 2015? I had a lot of student loans from that computer science degree that I got. I had a lot of student loans, and it was a point where my student loans were here, and my Bitcoin holdings were way up here. After 2013, and it kept going down and down and down, and by 2015, it hit parity with my student loan debt. And back then I was, here it comes. And back then I was not a degenerate back then. I was today I would say these student loans, I won't pay a dime of that. Today I don't care. Student loans, whatever. Yeah. But back then I was a good citizen, and I said, well, I've got to do the responsible thing and dump it all for student loan. If I had, I'll tell you what, guys, if I had had that same stack in 2017 at the top, I would have been a bajamazillion. And that day, I remember in December of 2017.
Where was the bridge?
Yeah. Close, man. I was at work, and I had a lot of friends at work that knew my background and stuff like that. And I went upstairs, calmly went upstairs, and got into my friend's office, and there was like 2 or 3 of my friends there, and I just fell on the table and I cried like I have never cried in my entire life.
Did you keep any? Did you keep any of the Bitcoin, or every single one of them pretty much gone, or did you like completely, exit scam your position?
I completely because
liquidated completely
because the fundamentals were so, and they still are to this day, are so horrible. I knew they were horrible back then, and I said there's no reason for me to keep any of this stuff. I didn't. Right. I'm an all or nothing kind of guy,
Yeah. Moment of silence for good textures.
Appreciate that, guys. Appreciate that.
Well, at least you found the next thing. Maybe you found the next Bitcoin, and it sounds kind of like, I think that you have figured, like you have some intelligent, like I like listening to what you have to say about Hex and like the happening and stuff like that. It's like, this guy knows what's going on, and like not only that, but it's like I'm learning stuff from you, and I feel like I've been in this thing for a year or so now, just been like at it every day, knowing what everybody says, and then you bring new stuff to it, and it's like, oh man, this is somebody that's bringing new stuff to the table. So yeah. It's nice knowing.
Because we've all heard Richard, talk for hours and hours about Hex, and we've got the paperwork and everything that we have, and we've heard Kyle, and but now we're really starting to, the community is really starting to gather around and understand what Hex is really all about. Because I remember, just a month or 2 ago, there were so many questions from even the OGs, the people that have been in Hex from the beginning, from last year, still trying to figure out and understand what the share rate doing on big payday is going to mean to the price of the coin and to the ecosystem itself, and then guys like you started uncovering it. So I think that we're finally starting to understand what is about to happen a little better. And you guys are here.
So what are your thoughts on the big payday? I get, like, if for everybody kind of maybe, I like go and subscribe to Good Textures videos, obviously, but maybe, maybe a little spoiler alert or something like that for your videos.
Yeah, we're going to deep dive, because now you're not just talking. We're going to hit you up with some questions, because now, you've got background. It was I knew you were intelligent when you were speaking, but I didn't know that it was that deep, that you've been in cryptography for all that time, and that you were a miner, and that that story right there tells me that you understand crypto, and that should tell everybody else out there too that the people that are in Hex. Me, I'm an OG that got wrecked back in the day from altcoins, and I was a I wasn't a developer. I owned a company that developed software, back in the gaming days before 2010, when cryptography was just in video games, So I've been around for a long time watching this thing grow. I saw guys like you get filthy freaking rich, and a bunch of you guys get wrecked too, like your story. So for some reason, guys like us that have been around for a long time, people that are really want to understand crypto are gathering around Hex, because we see the potential. And, give us your take now. Your video, you talked about 2 halvenings happening on Big Payday. Tell us what that means for the share price, and kind of Kyle talked about it yesterday. Give us a little more in-depth dive on that whole thing.
So as far as the share price, I've been digging through the contract code a little bit to try and get a better idea of what the share price is, how it works, how it moves over time. And today I'm not an expert on share price. I'm not, that's something that I need to work on. And the code's pretty nice. I mean, it's some of the most well-commented code I've ever seen. It's beautiful. It really is. They did a good job. So share price, I'm not going to touch on too much, but as far as now, what I am going to touch on though is the actual monetary model, the economic model inherent in Hex. And I think they've done a really good job with that. So November 18th, 7 p.m. Eastern time, inflation for the most part coming into the network goes up to 31,000% in a single instance, and then it's done. Or no, 21,000%, sorry. So you see a massive spike in inflation as the big payday pays out to all the stakers that held through that short period, and then inflation drops like a rock. And go ahead.
Just to add something in there, so obviously because of big payday payouts, inflation is going to go. However, we're not going to see that as liquid because most of that is spread out through stakes.
Yes, the vast majority is locked up in stakes. I think it's something like 90+% of it, or 90% or 88%, 90% is locked in stakes.
So, okay, so let's talk about what that should do, or what that's going to look like to the coin itself. What is that going to do? I mean,
yeah, so what's going to happen is instantaneously the inflation rate is going to drop from around 80% to, over the entire network, it will be a total coin inflation rate of 3.69%. That is a massive, massive move. Cannot be understated how massive that is. That is like Bitcoin teleporting from 2011 to 2016 instantaneously. That's exactly what is going to happen in Hex. And people that are saying that that the coin price is going to dump after big payday, to me, is equivalent to saying that the price of Bitcoin is going to dump after the 2011 halving. I mean, it's absurd. It doesn't make any sense.
Right. With Kyle yesterday, it seemed like with the shares, it was like it's right now it's 97 million shares per one hex, and then it starts going exponential right after the big payday, since the people that are getting out that they have staked for the longest, the day one stakers, are starting to get out that day. So you're going to see an exponential climb. So 97 million are right now, and after the big payday, it's going to go to about 47 million for one hex. So it's going to double that, and then it's just going to continue to keep going exponential at that point. And so he said that it'll just be like a blip if you look at the long term after 10 years.
And here's something
it's still kind of like, it's still like, why that doesn't, you can't, obviously it's speculative, and I don't know if you'll be able to, but for long term, that seems amazing, because you're never going to get this the share price ever again.
Yeah.
No, and that's individually, right? Because we keep saying, the share price is always going to be bigger than the biggest stake. But the share price, when you buy back in, basically, or you buy in at that date after big payday, share price is going to be set, and it's going to be set by unstaking, is from what I'm understanding.
Like the share price is the best, the ROI that anybody's ever got. And so it'll make it so they'll never be able to get in again at that price. And so it's always going, the share rate is always going, the share price is always going up, the share rate is always going down. So the share price is always going to be more than it was the day before. And then when people are trying to get out, it's going to be even less than that because they got a higher share rate. But yeah, it is a little bit hard to understand because it doesn't make sense to me.
But I got to get this. This is the part I got to get.
Yeah.
And when I saw that the share per hex was so high, it's like 97 million coins. That was strange at first, but I think the reason is so that it'll never hit zero. So over time, it can continue dwindling and dwindling and dwindling, and they never have to worry about hitting zero.
Right. Yeah.
I would be curious at what the share rate would be in 2035 if there was any calculation on that.
Yeah, when like the models, the simulations and stuff that they had before would be kind of cool to get just to see what they kind of what they had on it, because yeah, I would like to see those as well. And it all depends on people unstaking, emergency unstaking, or stuff like that. So it all depends, and seeing how many people actually have 5,555 day stakes. Even at the end of that 5,555 days, it's going to be crazy to even see what the share rate's going to be at that point. It'd be interesting to see.
Well, because
so are you like a trader, do you trade a lot? Because it seems like you do a lot of charts and stuff like that, like on where you got like a trading background. Do you or is it just kind of a hobbyist kind of thing?
Yeah, just kind of a hobbyist thing. I just like the satisfaction of seeing where the price is going and feeling like I know where it's going to go and then seeing if it worked. And I've been doing that since before I was in crypto. I was doing that with stocks and all these type of things.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of a long development, trying to get better at it. There's always something new to learn. So
right. Yeah.
I'm not done with shares yet. I'm serious.
I think shares are just too confusing. I don't know if we know.
But I don't want it to be confusing. I want everybody to understand it. I want to understand it, and I want everybody else to understand it, because if we don't, it's ridiculous that we don't. We should understand it by now. And there's enough smart motherfuckers around here. We should have this thing figured out by now. Right. It's been explained a million times, and I still don't get it. And I know it's all the crayon.
I can read it from the layman's guide, but it's pretty.
And I can't. It doesn't compute when I read that thing. I've read. It's been handed to me 100,000 times, and I've been told to read this. Now we've got a good texture on here. The guy's smart. He understands this shit. So I was hoping. And Richard's even explained it to me. Don't get me. I asked him questions on stream, and Richard explained it, and it still didn't get through my thick skull. Right. So. And I don't think anybody here has a grasp on it either. I think we're still we're still fooling ourselves. So don't act like we know.
I'm not trying. That's what I'm saying. I don't know.
Because I don't want to brush the issue over. I want to freaking get to the bottom of this shit so that we can let everybody out there know this is what the fucking share price is. This is what it's going to do. And this is what it could look like. I know we can only speculate as to, but we can't. The share price is set. And that's what needs to be, hammered out. So, when the share price starts to go down, obviously, go up, it's obviously going to make shares more scarce, because as you stake, like you said, in 2035. So like when you're staking out there, the share price is going to be so high, and you're going to have to stake so long to get your gains that you want. You're not going to be. It's going to be more of a traditional CD at that point, is my guess. The early developers are the ones that are really going to make out in HEX. And then it's going to turn into kind of like a crypto CD where, people are going to make gains. They're going to be able to lock their coins up and do like what a bank does. It's going to be like a bank CD. But the people who got in early are going to be the ones that make a lot of gains off of it.
I didn't do my homework on this topic.
That's me too.
I was hoping that you were going to be the one guy that could straighten my shit out, man.
I would have if we had said, look, guys, we're talking about stake.
All right. So here's what I'll do. I'll drop this shit and we'll set it up. I'll give you a week to go study, and we'll rehash it again later.
It needs to be done. You're right. It needs to be done, and it's something that needs to be looked at. And I've looked at it slightly, a little bit in the code, and it's something else.
Yeah. And see, you're a smart motherfucker, so you should know it. And if you don't know it, then none of us know it. Because I know Hexo don't. He just.
I know. I just know that it's like
price going up.
today your shares are not going to be as much as your shares tomorrow. That's what I know for sure. Like that's the easiest way to do it. Just be like, okay, this is going to be higher tomorrow, so don't worry. You know, like that. I don't need to know everything. And you know what the calculation is. I just know if you get in today, it's better than getting in tomorrow. And if you get in tomorrow, you're getting a worse price than you would today. So stake your stuff. And in a month, you're going to get way worse than you're going to get today. And I think that's that's just the basics of it. Yeah, I don't know that. Like, I could tell you the formula behind it and stuff like that, but it's not. It doesn't tell you anything about like, well, this is what's going to happen on the big payday or anything like that. It's more of just, I think it's all speculative in general, because it's like, if you know that the price is going to go up, then it's going to go up. It's always going to go up. It doesn't matter what it's going to do.
Most fixed fixture in HEX, because we have a steady rate of inflation from now until big payday. Then we have a massive, like Good Texture was saying, we have a massive change of that. It's going to become, you know, super scarce, and the price is going to change completely on that date. We're going to see this huge inflation happen, and then it's going to start fluctuating or capitulating based upon people's shares, or it's each individual person's unstaking is what I'm thinking. Is it's one of the two. It's either it's going to be set by somebody else, longest, biggest stake, or it's going to be set by you. You can never get a better price for your shares, and obviously the price is going to be different for you.
It's everybody. Like you set if you're the best, then you set it. Like you're going to get if you're the highest ROI, then you're going to set the share rate to what everybody else has in the whole pool. Yeah. So it just keeps going.
So you say that the share rate gets cut in half on November 18th.
Well, that's what the speculation is going to be. Like that's what Kyle said. Like I said, I don't know the math enough to be like, yeah, this is what's going to happen. But you know, he's the one that programmed it, and he has all the simulations on it. And so it's like maybe, you know, instead of 97 million, we go down to 48 million, and he said it looks like this after a long time, but it's actually doing this. You know, and there is a math formula on hexinfo.io, and like, you know, it's like some crazy long fat math formula that I'm like, okay, I don't understand any of that. So
it seems plausible that if enough people by November 18th understand how the share rate works, that there could be a mass influx of stakers that are looking to lock in that share rate, and we could potentially see quite a hit to what everyone would expect from their big payday payouts.
Yeah, and then we talked to Kyle about that, and you know, as you look at your stakes now, it looks like you've got, you know, like 3 times the amount of you know, big payday to your principal. And then he said that the models are showing it may look, and of course, again, it's speculation, more like double your shares on that day versus
double your shares, because you won't be able to.
I mean, not double your shares, double your principal.
Your
big payday, yeah, your HEX will be doubled at that point versus what now everybody's looking at tripled, because we see it when we have big end stakers, our big payday, you know, we'll see it fluctuate a little. So it's, you can see that does change it, you know. So
well, even double is still astronomical. That's still amazing.
Hell yeah. And then the longer you and so if you do have stakes coming maturing early, and you know, and I think, and I mean, this is my thought and my strategy is, okay, I'll take some dividends off of that. I'll take some gains, and then the rest of it I'm going to stake, and I'm going to put them out there as long as I can to return ROI, because I have stakes laddered. So I'm going to ladder those stakes even out further to maximize their gains, because you can increase your position. You can better your position by staking longer. So the longer you stake, of course, the better you can make your position. So
I think another thing that people might be discounting is the sheer greed that's going to kick in after the big payday. I think that there is a stronger possibility than people realize that people are going to take all their new gains and roll it into a new stake.
Yeah.
I don't think that the chance of that happening is zero. I think that's certainly possible.
And I see a lot of people going for the emergency end staking right after. You know, these the 2-year stakes that maybe are they're halfway done right after the big payday, and they're they stake for 2 years out after the first day. So they're staked 2 years out, so they won't lose any of their principal, but they will have gained some of their big payday. And so they might break even, but if the price has skyrocketed like that, they're going to start emergency end stakings for the people, and for the people that are staked, they're going to accrue all of those emergency end staking. It's such a, it's going to be a crazy time. That last month, I think, is going to be insane. All of November is just going to be, volatility back and forth. I think it's going to be.
We're gonna be doing some crazy streams then. That's for sure.
You're gonna be getting a lot of people trying to sell it, a lot of people trying to get in, a lot of people trying to emergency end stake so they can get in before the big payday and make one larger stake to get more shares and stuff like that. I could see every kind of possibility happening right before then. And
could you see the possibility of that not happening if the price becomes like ultra stable, and just because what I see that could happen is it just keeps kind of going up and up and up in this pattern, and it just kind of flatlines eventually and just stops dropping. I'm wondering if something like that starts happening, is there a possibility that people will say, well, I got my 2-year end stake, maybe I'll just let it ride, it doesn't seem to be dropping.
Yeah, if I think that people that's why I always say on my show, it's like when we're going up, you're making USD and you're getting those people that want to emergency end stake to get out and try to get a good chance. And when it's going down, you get people that are emergency end staking. And so you're always getting the hex no matter what, as long as you're a staker. And so when it's actually flat, it's like the most boring time for hex because nobody's on staking, nobody's trying to get that, nobody's trying to. So yeah, I mean that definitely, I mean that's what it probably will happen at a certain time where it just stays flat for a long periods of time. I mean that's, and I don't know. So what do you think for big payday? You don't think that there will be a drop, or do you think that there's going to be a drop and then FOMO right after, or?
I think I envision almost like a Silk Road bust movement. And what happened during the Silk Road bust in 2013 in September was Bitcoin flash crashed from $120 to $80 within like 10 minutes. I mean, the whole market just went boom. And then everybody that sold at the bottom within another 2 or 3 hours got absolutely obliterated because the price then recovered back up to a 120 and then went to 1,000. So I mean, people got wrecked because they thought, because here's the thing, Silk Road was the de facto use case of Bitcoin in 2013. If you weren't using Silk Road, there was no reason to have them back then. And so when Silk Road went down and Ross Ulbricht, when he's under the prison, oh man, immediately people just panic. Oh, there's no reason to even own this stuff anymore. Did that flash crash, but then it caught support. It's gone. Gone.
And do you think I think that too. I think that there will be a flash crash maybe, and maybe. And then people are buying it right back up, because I already know people that are like, I'm saving all my money for that big, and maybe that's what it doesn't, why it won't do that is because so many people are like, well, I'm ready to get in right after big payday.
Yeah, I think that the price is going to be rising so much that you're not going to have people wanting to sell on a crash, and the end stakes or the maturing stakes are going to be so few and far between, really, in the beginning there, that you're not going to have a lot of volume, to bring the price down. Even if people are, early in staking, they're not going to want to. I don't think they're going to want to. They're like, wait a minute, man, I only got a few more months here or whatever. I'm gonna chill on this thing. It's still rising. People are still FOMOing in, because the FOMO is going to be September and October is going to be freaking FOMO months galore, man. They're going to be like just pouring in, and at that point, things are going to be smoking so hard that I don't know, that day is going to be freaking crazy, man. The more and more I think about it, what we have right now, I mean, the shit that we're seeing right now, and thinking about what's going to happen those 2 months is like blowing my mind. I mean, the excitement, and we ain't sleeping for 2 months, guys. I'm serious.
Go to Miami and just be posted up in Miami.
Yeah,
May as well.
Weeks.
May as well, because one of these fools is going to buy one of those damn hotels out there. I'll bet you.
Yeah.
Hey guys, we just bought a hotel. We're good. Just everybody show up over here.
Pretty awesome. So you probably haven't seen anything like Hex because you've been in this since, well, I mean, 2012, but 2010 technically. You haven't seen anything like, like obviously there's nothing like this because it's like Richard's genius put into a coin is how I see it. It's like it's everything that he always talked about into a coin. But have you seen like where, like different coins kind of where this could have been another type of a different coin maybe like that tried this stuff?
Well, so you're talking about technology or price movement?
No, like technology, like in a coin.
Technology wise, there's stuff that's the first one that ever came out, and I was mildly a fan of it, was Peercoin. Peercoin, they eliminated Sonny King eliminated mining, and so that was the earliest rendition of this. But you had to take your coins and lock them up in a stake, and then you would collect interest while your coins were locked up, and that was an incentive to keep the network running. The downside is your coins would be constantly exposed to the open internet to getting hacked, which is not an issue with Hex. You can take your Ledger Nano with Hex and stake your coins, and then pull your Ledger Nano back into cold storage, and you're done with it. I'm not 100% sure how the new Ethereum Rocket Pool staking system works. I've not looked into it a ton, but I know that it doesn't have the insane rewards that Hex has. Hex has this almost like logarithmic growth type thing with the shares, and it's got the big payday and all these type things. The Ethereum staking isn't going to operate that way.
Do you see Hex ever getting down to like 1% where you're getting 369% of the, well, I mean, it is 3.69 inflation, but it's giving to 1%, which is 369% of the people or percent of the pool. Do you ever see that happening? I mean, that's what the game theory, I think, is the coolest game theory in Hex is if everybody wants to unstake and keep their Hex liquid, then the guys that are keeping their Hex staked are gaining 369% on their ROI. So it incentivizes the people to actually stake and keep staked because they see the other guy like, well, damn, he's getting 50% percent on his ROI. Why wouldn't I stake? So what do you think that we're gonna like maybe average out? What are your thoughts on like averaging it out to?
I'll tell you, to be honest, I'm very surprised that the current staking ratio is at 24%. I'm very surprised to see that. I would expect it would be at least 75%. So the question that I'm bringing from that perspective is, are there Hex coins sitting, massive amounts of Hex coins sitting in some origin address or something similar like that just aren't being touched, and that is affecting what the current network stake rate is? Because it doesn't make sense to me that such few people would be staking their coins. How Richard is getting a copy of all of the bonuses, and he's getting a copy of all this stuff. Wherever that is going, is it possible that all of that is not being staked, and that's what's skewing the ratio so poorly? I think that may be what's happening right now. I think the actual stake rate has got to be higher, but I may be wrong. But I just 24%
that makes sense.
I think you're right there. And then the share price is not going up as quick right now too. So people are looking at it. They have their liquid Hex. They're watching things. I mean, I'm thinking this is a crypto trader's mentality that people are still having. They've got this liquid Hex. They're going, well, I could stake tomorrow because I'm not losing too much. It's small percentages every day you wait. You know what I mean? At this point, obviously it's going to start growing faster, and it's going to start getting more and more expensive to buy your shares. But at this point, holding it and kind of keeping that Whoopi security crypto, because it's going up so high, it's like, well, if this thing just rockets and goes crazy, I'm going to dump it, or something like that, But I think that those people are getting more and more maybe anxious to stake. And then, like you said, there is also a big pool of Hex out there that is not part of it could be part of the ecosystem. It could even be staking too. We don't really know unless you're doing, chain analysis or whatever.
I bet Firebun knows the answer to that.
Probably.
Yeah, I invited him on today too, but he's out fishing.
And like the OA not staking is actually a good for everybody that's not, like it's good for us that he's not actually. I mean, it is liquid, and that sucks that it's so liquid, and he could just, or they could just sell on top of us at any moment.
But you said Richard and him, so it's not we.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that, guys.
Oh, it's back to the basement for you, Hector. Your quota of referral links just went up, bitch. 30 more percent.
But yeah, I think it's like if he was staked, I mean, we would only be getting 5% interest on our ROI or whatever if 90% of it was staked. So it's like it's good and it's bad. I mean, it's bad that it's liquid and that it could sell at any moment, but it's also good that we're getting so much higher ROI on our stakes. And maybe that, I don't know. It'd be cool if like there was a huge stake from the OA or something that just goes for 5,555 days, maybe once a year, and just emergency end stakes for us after one day, just for everybody that believed in the project and stuff like that. Like those are my hopes for what happens after. Like obviously the OA is probably going to sell a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't ever dump on us like XRP or something like that. Where monthly, it's like.
Go ahead.
But like I think you said it good, Texture, is like XRP has these business models and they have to pay their employees. They have, it was you that said that. It was like they have chips. You have chips and you have sodas and like they have to pay employees and developers and all these other things. And it's like, and we don't have that. Like one guy can only, dump so hard, and it's like, oh, one entity, excuse me. I don't want to go back to the basement.
You're so dead.
I want to talk about XRP in a second, but I want to go back to something before I forget about it. There's another pumpamental of HEX that I've never seen described before that applies here. And one of the most powerful human emotions is, and I hope this is not inappropriate for me to talk about, but one of the most powerful human desires for some people, not everybody, but is fear of dying. Many people are extremely scared of dying. And I don't know if Richard falls into that camp or not, but he seems very, very serious about not dying. That seems to be a big deal to him. And I believe that is another pumpamental, because he's not going to want to sell those coins for anything for a paltry amount of money. It has to be an amount that is significant enough to properly fund a biological or technological initiative that would potentially extend his life. And if it's not if it's not enough money to achieve that, which is probably in the billions of dollars, most certainly, I don't see him selling. So.
And even if he did, like, then you get a lot of people hating on you. And if you want to extend your life for 100 years, you got a long time that people are going to hate you, man.
You got the pitchforks coming out, man.
Like people are going to be pretty pissed off at you for the extra 100 years that you got onto your life. So
they're not.
You might want to. So maybe that does make sense. That's a good that's a good way of looking at it.
If you look at HEX deeply, if you look at the ecosystem, if you look at the OA and how it operates within the system, and the whole thought of good whales, right? It's to the benefit of this project right here to have that perpetually improving the ecosystem, improving the system, versus a few $1 million, $20-30 million, and then exit scam for the rest of your life, hiding on freaking islands somewhere. And it doesn't make any sense whatsoever for that to be even an accusation. So all these people out there accusing that of being part of it, you're stupid. You're fucking stupid, because nobody in their right mind for that kind of money would go and do something like that now
and show their face. If they don't show their face, that's another thing.
Especially if you had a system that's capable of generating billions of dollars.
Yeah, true.
Which the exit scam is the poor man's way out, and the guy that would really benefit from what the system has created would jump out of a window if he had $21 million, $31 million, because we're talking about an ecosystem that can create billions of dollars worth of wealth for a lot of people that are
100%.
involved in this.
Yeah.
So
100%.
they just obviously haven't looked at the whole thing, because this is $1 billion project, bar none. I mean, this is billions of dollars can be generated by this. And as long as crypto gets the attention that it deserves, eventually here, I still say, you know, all of crypto is suspect, because there ain't shit in it as far as money goes. You got a couple $100 billion in this little project, which means nothing to the real world. Really means nothing. It's not even significant. You know, there's stocks that lost more than that just the other day. You know what I mean? There's one stock in particular that lost more than all of crypto in one day. So freaking just forget about it. You know, don't think so high and mighty at this little project yet. It's not there.
Sure.
Until we start seeing $1 trillion market cap and going beyond that, and people starting to get in and adopt it. Don't think so highly of yourself yet. Crypto.
And you know, the being a completed project and not having parties to fund and things like that. I mean, it's never ever been seen before. I mean, you can go to at Ripple. It's so hilarious. You can go to their Twitter and on their YouTube account, and you can see their office, walking through the offices, all these people that they're paying. I mean, it's unbelievable how extravagant their offices are. And here's the thing. Ripple, the company, would not be profitable without selling XRP. That is the only thing that makes their company profitable whatsoever. And how are they doing that? By dumping,
on a daily basis.
Yeah, by dumping on the heads of their holders. That's the only thing keeping them afloat. It's unbelievable.
And these idiots, it's built into the whole system.
Yeah.
There's a set amount of freaking dump that is, I mean, and maybe that's a good thing for the ecosystem. I don't know. But it is a set amount that, hey, you're getting dumped on every single week this much.
Well, and also the guy that actually wrote Ripple, his name is Jed McCaleb. He owns something like 4 or 5 billion coins, and he's already said that he's going to dump all of them. He doesn't want any of them because the Ripple protocol is such garbage that Jed went over and rewrote the whole thing from scratch. And he's like, he created a technologically superior in every way product. So he's like, I don't want these Ripple coins. It's garbage. And he's already said he's going to sell all of it. And yet these people, insane. Ripple is probably the most or the second most popular coin on Twitter. And I guess these people, they can't get a clue.
They love it.
They love it. They think that because Brad Garlinghouse took a picture with the head of the ECB, Christine Lagarde, that there's a conspiracy that Ripple's going to take over the world. I'm here to tell you, it's probably not going to work out that way.
Those Ripple folks are worse than Hexicans. That's for damn sure. Because we're bad out there, man. We got some army out there.
Yeah. But the Hexicans are, at least they're very logical about what they're doing. They've got some kind of logical basis behind what they're saying. But these Ripple guys are like, yo, I saw a leaked document from Bank of America that may or may not be fraudulent, and because of that, Ripple's going to the moon. I'm like, really?
And the price just pumps from there, and then they dump it right back down onto them. It's like, yeah, the Ripple one is like, I know about the Ripple one. I bought it at $3 when it pumped, and it went up to $3.50. I was like, here we go. It's gonna be the #1 currency, like I was told. And it's just like 40 cents. It's like, no, what did I do? This is when I was a trader, like a trader. Yeah, it was a sad day, But yeah, let's see. Yeah, it was
we got 2 sad stories in this.
I was an XRP bro for about 15 minutes.
I got a few myself, that's for sure.
Let's see.
I told my worst one. That's all I got. I'm out of ammo.
So what do you think, like, what was I going to ask? Oh, do you think that Hex can ever be like #1? You think it will ever be #1?
I think that...
I mean, that's Moon Boy talk for sure. But like, what are your thoughts on it ever being #1? Like,
let's go ahead and first define what #1 actually is. So #1 today is a coin that operates at like 7 transactions per second, is owned by nothing but Chinese miners, can only be mined if you can beg a Chinese fab shop into giving you one of their miners. I mean, it is a joke. I mean, the #1, and I know there's some people out there that are pro Bitcoin and all this, but Bitcoin is an absolute joke. So here's the thing: becoming number one is not a high bar. It's not a high bar.
That's what I've
on
always said. That's
it
my,
just
that's
depends
my
on what
take.
team, what platform you're playing on.
You
Yeah,
didn't have
that's what
to stretch.
Yeah, because even with the market cap, it's like, well, we could be number 17, I think is what we hit today, but it's like they're gonna just gatekeep us. If we ever hit that number one bar, they're just gonna be like, no, you guys have this, the OA has this, or there's something else that you guys need to get together before we put you on that number one spot. But it's like, well, we're decentralized guys. But yeah, I guess that's true. What is number one? And like
Not
you said,
much.
there's what is number one? Yeah, we're gonna be playing against like Ethereum is about like probably number one in my book. But
yeah, what's number 3? Ripple XRP is number 3.
Yeah.
Number 4 is like what, BCH or BSV or something. Like,
Okay. We're in the teens and we just beat Tron.
Yeah. I mean, folks,
Tron is like, I mean,
we are living in a global zero or negative interest rate environment. You cannot get yield out of a bank. You cannot get yield out of a traditional CD. You cannot get yield out of a bond. And we've got this magical product here that's all of a sudden paying 15% interest to people, and it's never gone down. I mean, I mean, relatively, it always just goes up. There is going to be demand for that, whereas Bitcoin, all it's ever done is dumped on holders. That's all it knows how to do. It doesn't pay interest. It doesn't
the stability of HEX is going to be known. It will be known. It's going to take time because we're going to have to prove it. It's going to have to prove itself. And once it does, the FOMO is going to be intense from the outside. And hopefully in the next 2 years, crypto can figure out how to onboard people without just freaking being ridiculous. I'm going to be able to just take my debit card and push a button and put my cash fucking money into whatever coin the fuck I want. And as soon as that happens, then we might see crypto start to turn into something real versus what it is right now.
Well, Cash App is really such a gateway, it seems like. Now, it seems like it's the lowest, easiest bar to entry for people to get into crypto, because this Cash App mainstream application, you can buy Bitcoin directly from that. And once you get the Bitcoin, you can trade it for whatever.
Is it pretty instant? Is it like, I've never used it?
I think so. So. I may be wrong.
So now I've tried onboarding, on different platforms, and even gone in the back freaking alleys out here, try and trade crypto with somebody, and it has never been easy. And for somebody who understands it to a point, like myself, I mean, the average Joe is like, they got the attention span of about a day and a half trying to figure it out, and they're gone, man. They're not going to come. They're like, I've got buddies that still they won't. I told them about HEX. They won't even send their ETH in to go get the HEX. It's like, come on, guys, you've been sitting there. It's just the convolution of the onboarding process, I think, is the biggest damaging. Everybody not having wallets, not being able to onboard your cash. That's the problem. Once that gets fixed and HEX is able to show itself as a stable, like you said, a place to store your money and make some interest, then that's when it's going to be something.
And Coinbase is easy to use, but the thing is, affluent people that I've talked to are not interested in taking selfies and writing their name on the selfie. Right, taking pictures of their driver's license and passport. Nobody's interested in this kind of stuff.
And that's a noob. Like they don't even, most people don't care about their privacy until you got to start giving their license, and they're like, no, I'm not giving my license to these people. Like I don't know who they are. That's a big one. That's a big one.
Beautiful pictures of me on every exchange out there.
And then they lose your picture, and then all these people are going to start using your ID and everything else to open up some other accounts, and then you're just you're opening up yourself for a lot of other garbage when you start giving when you give your ID out like that.
But people do it with banks. In order to open a bank account, you have to give them your ID and show them your ID and everything, and people are okay with that. So maybe they're okay doing that in person. So maybe the solution is to start opening crypto branches all over the country.
Which does not, that like goes, and that's the thing, is like, that's where I see it going. And that's exactly why the opposite of what crypto was started for, at least in my opinion. My opinion is like Hex is decentralized finished product, mostly the decentralized part where I don't have to rely on somebody else like giving me my coins, and like I don't have to worry about, it's like it's done, it's complete. I don't have to like I'm not worried about somebody stealing my money or exit scamming with all of this stuff. It's complete and it's decentralized. It's done. Like that's what I like about Hex the most.
Maybe Ripple can make the banks for us, our crypto banks.
If there were a really easy way to convert something in a bank account or a debit card into USDC or DAI, that's really all that needs to happen. Because as soon as you go there, that's it. You're done. You're ready for Uniswap.
Yeah. Yep. And that's why I liked Wire, because I made one transaction on Wire. I went into my MetaMask, boom, pulled it up, made a transaction. It was there, done. I was like, that's it. They got it. And then all of a sudden I tried to make another transaction and they sent me to the website and asked for KYC and all that. It was like, it was like a lost leader where they gave me one transaction and then they shut me down.
Yeah.
And it hasn't worked the same thing ever since.
Same thing for me. Yeah. I tried to do it and it was just like, they wouldn't even let me do the transaction first. They were like, here's your KYC. And I was like, damn.
I got one transaction out of it. I was like, oh, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Yeah. I don't understand why the KYC. I honestly don't. It's not like they can't track your ass anyway.
Because they're being regulated. I know,
but like every single one of these coins is tracked. Like you could track where I send it to anyways. Like, and it's coming from my bank account. It's not like they can't be like, here it goes from this guy's bank account to this to buying Hex. Like they can track every single thing that you have. But like just putting your picture up there, it really doesn't make sense to me because it's like, yeah, it came from my bank account and it's going to here, and which I understand it's probably in case somebody does. I've never seen it.
No, they want to control the gateway. They want to control the gateway. The Fed wants to control the gateway, and this isn't conspiracy. They want to control the gateway, and they want to know who's really moving it. If you're somebody that moved a crap ton of it, they want to know because there is an element of national security involved when it comes to big sums of crypto. I get it. But then they use that to, well, we don't like this guy, so let's fuck with him,
Yes.
So this brings up a really interesting point. So the Federal Reserve is very obviously creating like a Fed coin, some type of cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
And the governments across the world are very clearly, China, India, United States are very clearly wanting to move to a cashless society. So once Fed coin, and that'll probably come out maybe, 2024 or something like that, 2025. Once that stuff really gets going, let's say there's a Fed coin. Is this Fed coin going to be, and let's assume everybody gets paid their paycheck with Fed coin, is this coin going to be interoperable with something like Ethereum? That's if Fed coin is interoperable with something like Ethereum, it's all holds are gone. I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
The whole ecosystem just explodes because everybody can freely access everything.
Yeah, I bet there's some kind of craziness to it.
When this is the other thing that really ticks me off about crypto is these exchanges and Coinbase. I don't know if you were around Hexo, but when Bitcoin Cash launched and they did the drop and all that, the price shot up and you couldn't sell it because Coinbase shut it. They suspended everything, shut everything off. It was a big scam. And so these exchanges have the capability of doing whatever the hell it is they want with your coins. They can control, like when Bitcoin crashed the other day, everybody was trying to buy coins. They couldn't buy coins anywhere. They couldn't get they couldn't onboard any money because they just turn it all off. And then
they just say, oh, sorry, there was too many people on the website, but it's like, yeah, nobody was on the website. You guys just wanted to, you just didn't want anybody to sell, man. That's pretty shady. And it's happened for years. Like ever since I was there in the Bitcoin Cash and everything beforehand. And yeah, I remember they were selling it beforehand, like, and they got or they didn't get in trouble, but everybody thought that there was like, okay, there's some insider trading going on right now.
Well, they did. They found the guys at Coinbase got busted for doing it.
Yeah, because they knew. Which I mean, you can't hate on them too much because remember, and then after that they were like, okay, well, we're not going to tell any of the employees, because I mean, if you have if you had Bitcoin Cash before that and they're like, hey, we're going to release Bitcoin Cash in 2 days, it's like, oh shit, yeah, I'm going to sell my shit down, because
and all those dudes are out there, yo, bro, I got to tell you about this. Check this out.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like you can't hate, and that's what sucks about cryptocurrency. It's just like there's no laws about insider trading and stuff like that. And so which is how we want it. But then the exchanges are kind of playing their own game, where they're going to do like release it to certain, hey, pay for the special membership to get into the, extra selling for 2 days before we come out with a coin.
But that's human nature. That's just human nature. It happens. Like, for instance, I'm half native, and on the res and within the res itself, it's like one thing, they get the casino going and people start bringing in money and whatnot. But then there's a certain amount of people, so, hey, it's supposed to benefit everybody. But then there's a certain amount of people, they get greedy and they want to start controlling things. And no, the money's really going to shift this way. And, and that happens in every ecosystem out there. You get players that get greedy that want to do things. And so crypto gateways or exchanges have brought in the middleman. We always hear that, the middleman, and the middleman takes control for a minute, and then they start funneling things there in their benefit. And that's what screws all of us, versus things being decentralized, and the more decentralization you could get, the better our little experiment called crypto is going to be,
And there's no telling what this coin is going to do, simply because it's not on the exchanges. I mean, never seen anything like this before. These exchanges are like doing all kind of insider trading and front running and wash trading and all kind of illegal stuff, especially the Chinese ones like Bitfinex and Huobi and all this. No telling what they're doing. But now all of a sudden we've got this exchange that isn't corrupt, and it's like the early days are back.
Yeah,
and they're calling it a scam. They're calling, oh, that piece of shit Uniswap. Oh, that scam.
Which it is a kind of a piece of shit if you're actually trying to trade on it, like the minute seconds where you're just, if you're trying to trade like seconds and you're trying to be like the speed trader, like it is like a piece of shit for that. But it's like if you're just using it as like, I'm gonna buy this and hold it, it's awesome. It's like the coolest thing I've ever. No, it's the coolest thing ever. But yeah, I get why some people are like, well, I'm a trader. Like all these people that think they're super crazy trader. Like, yeah, they think they're Tone Bays of the Bitcoin world trying to trade it. It's like, yeah, well, I don't know, man. I don't like, it is awesome. It's super awesome. I think it's like the coolest thing since anything was built. It's awesome.
Unbelievable.
I mean, you could catch a little arbitrage with it, I mean, it's kind of cool for the, like, hey, well, I'm going to trade it for USD and I'm buying this. I mean, it's good for that. It's definitely not, for setting up bots and setting up, your exits and all that kind of crap. But it's definitely good for swapping crypto over to something else, moving it around, doing a little bit of arbitrage. I mean, it's perfect.
Yeah.
And the liquidity issue is perfect. And that's what really is the beautiful thing about, Uniswap, is that you don't have big liquidity problems.
And the liquidity on the HEX Ethereum pair is just the amount of HEX in that is just slowly dropping, right?
Yeah. We had 7 billion, like probably last month, 7 billion. And now
it's down to 1, right?
Yeah, I can't, when it gets down to like less than a billion, it's gonna be cruising, man. It's gonna be like that, because I've asked Richard what happens when there's no more HEX in there, and he says it can't run out. Like it just starts putting zeros at the end of the price, because you can't just actually end the price there. And it's the most liquidity. If you want to look at liquidity, it has the most liquidity on the exchange, more than all these other shitty exchanges that we're dealing with. So,
So how has it been trending from a USD perspective?
What do you mean?
Like, so you say that it was 7 billion last month, but 7 billion HEX last month was probably cost less than 1 billion HEX this month. So I wonder, like, in a valued in currency perspective, what the change has been.
Well, I think that's just what happens when it starts going down. Like you see, like somebody, they trade their Ethereum for the HEX, and then the HEX or the Ethereum gets put on the bid side. or the ask side, excuse me. So if you want to sell into it, there's 37,000 Ethereum that you have to sell into. So if you wanted to sell it down to, you know, a pretty big chunk, you'd have to sell like 10,000 Ethereum to get it back down to there, to the exact same spot as it was. So like, let's say it was at 25,000 Ethereum and 7 billion hex. Well, when it went up to when it went down to 1 billion hex, and now we're at 35,000 Ethereum, I think that you would have to probably sell that back down to 25,000 Ethereum just to get it back to the same price as it was at.
So a billion. So a billion hex at 0.006. That's what, $6 million total.
What's for 7?
I'm just curious.
A billion hex.
Yeah, a billion hex times 0.6.
Yeah,
it's
probably, yeah,
that's what, $6 million.
Probably.
So if there's $6 million worth of hex currently in Uniswap, how many millions of dollars were in Uniswap last month?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not sure, because you'd have to do the price, 7 billion versus whatever the price was at that time. I'm guessing is the easiest way to.
I see.
To see, because yeah, it's really, because that's what I had asked Richard. I had no idea, because I was like, can we just run out of hex on there and then it just kind of dies or whatever? And he's like, no, he just put
no, it has to.
He starts. Yeah, it's always going to be continuing, because
it's 1 billion. It's 1 billion 19 million on the hex side and 33,000 ETH on the ETH side right now.
So what was the ETH last month?
It was about 20. I think it was about 25.
Okay, so the liquidity is just steadily growing. Okay.
Yeah. It looks like it. I mean, there are some people that like we got taken out. I mean, I think there's, because if you look, I try to look at the liquidity almost daily on my show, and it's usually about 10 million. But it's also Ethereum's going up in price. So I mean, last month it was like we only had $3 million of liquidity, but 25,000 Ethereum. But since it's doubled, now we've got a little bit more Ethereum, plus we've got the Ethereum price going up. So it's like the liquidity looks also larger because of that.
And the distance, there's something to be said about the distance that Hex is creating with Ethereum too, because it's starting to gain on Ethereum a lot.
Yeah, all-time highs.
Yeah, it's gaining on Ethereum. So I don't know what that means to it mathematically, but it's got to mean something, right? I mean, if it's becoming more valuable than its pair over and over and over again, I mean, it's got to make more stability, maybe, or something like that.
Yeah, the bigger it gets, it's probably going to get more and more stable. For sure, 100%.
Yeah, I would like to see what happens when we get more liquidity in there, because I mean, there is a trade-off of, because I think that if you put your Ethereum on there and your hex, because you have to put in both pairs. Like when you put in with the liquidity, I don't know if you guys know this, you have to put in both pairs, like equal pairs. So if you put in one Ethereum, you have to have equal amount of hex to put on for the liquidity.
Yeah.
And so
when you're a provider,
when you're the provider, so it is going to be crazy to see what happens when we start making all-time highs all the time and just losing a lot of the
like we are,
but then gaining Ethereum, because it almost brings like a dampening effect to where nobody wants to sell against that, because there's so much more Ethereum to be put against that. So it's like you have to sell so much more into the hex price to bring it down anymore. So it just, that's why I think that it just continues to go up, if it goes up.
And we've had some dumps, some whales have claimed some pretty good sized dividends on that, and it still just kind of levels itself back off, stables itself off, and then back on the rise.
And every one of them regrets it.
Right? Exactly.
Oh, I sold my hex. I sold my hex.
So when did you say that you got in? Like mid-January? You said you like pretty much mid-January you found out about Hex, or early January you said you found out about it and you got in. Like
said April, right?
Oh, me or RG3?
No, yeah, good texture.
No, I've only been in since like mid-April.
Yeah, he got in mid-April.
Okay.
Yes. I'm not seeing the mega ultra gains. But I'm still.
Oh, don't worry, dude.
He didn't FOMO in with you.
I FOMO'd in day one, so don't worry. I didn't see those for quite some time. I was, my 10 Ethereum got down to like 0.5 Ethereum real quick. So I didn't, my FOMO bag was hurting there for a while. I was like, come on, please. But I honestly didn't think that we'd be able to come to like parity with day one for a long time. I didn't think that we would actually like until the end. I didn't think that we'd be anywhere we would be at this point.
No way.
To where that's at.
Freaking 0.6 of or
6,000.
Yeah. I mean, come on. I didn't think we would be at that. I thought maybe we were going to hit a 0.5 cent by the last couple of months, and then maybe we'd rally to a penny, and that was my big hopes. But to be here, I mean, we're like a month away from a penny right now at this rate.
Yeah.
I dumped a bunch of Zcash for a slight loss to get in.
Yeah.
I dumped everything at a big loss to get in.
Me too. I came in on like late 2016, early 2017, and rode all these shit coins up and rode them all back down, and it was just like, oh geez. And I broke even. I broke even. But yeah, like the altcoins definitely like 90% loss and stuff like that. Yeah. So I mean, I broke even on my Bitcoin pairing. Like I started with an amount and then I ended with an amount, and so like I didn't really take that huge of a hit. But 2 years of my life, I guess, would be the big hit on that. But it was and then I got FOMO'd in day one. So
I had a monster stinky ass bag of OMG that I couldn't get rid of fast enough. And as soon as Hex passed OMG, I was like, yes. That felt so good.
When you FOMO'd on day one, Hexo, did you have any dry powder left over for
Oh yeah. I FOMO'd like a third of my stack.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're good.
So, yeah. So the shares, like if the share rate, I got the best share rate that you'll ever get. Yeah. So there's always that that because I staked it, and I've got that. I've got that going for me. Well, I guess I got that going for me. That. So I guess I got that going for me. But now it's doubled on the the AA. So I'm like, yeah.
You guys are all good now. Everyone is FOMO day one good.
Yeah.
The only reason I missed is because I fell asleep during the whole thing for a month and a half.
Yeah. Buying that spike on April 18th, 17th, that's normally something that he should never, ever do.
Yeah.
But when I saw that spike, it was so massive and under such high volume. The first thing that came to mind was BNB. Because BNB, when it first started its run from like $8, it did stuff like that. And then it went to 30, 40.
Yeah, 35, like $35. I haven't looked at it in a while, but yeah, $35 is where I saw it, like the last time that I saw it, and probably November of last year.
And speaking of BNB, they bought, I don't think we're going to be on CoinMarketCap anytime soon, because they bought CoinMarketCap.
Yeah.
And if Hex is so usable on Uniswap, that cuts into Binance's business model.
And we don't have, like, that's why I love Hex, is just, we don't have to promote these scammy, like BitMEX kind of trade. Like, hey, click my referral link for the so you can get liquidated on my profit. Like, that's what I like about the referral system in Hex. It's like, if you click my referral link, it also helps me out, and like it's just a helping. And that's why I think, like, we talked about this yesterday. But for when I first got in the community, it was a cool community, like it still is. But I thought that it was mostly just because of the referral link. Like, you don't want to be a dick when you're trying to shill your referral link. Like, oh, that guy's a dick. I ain't clicking his referral link. What a douche. So I thought everybody was nice because of that. But now I see it as like a little bit different than that. Like, the community is so cool because it's just I think it's how crypto is supposed to be, and I think a lot of people were jaded by Bitcoin and stuff like that, and they thought, because I got into Bitcoin thinking that it was this private thing, you couldn't track and that's why people did buy drugs back in the day, because you couldn't track it. That was my thoughts on it, and it turns out it's
that was not the truth.
Yeah, it was like completely opposite of what I thought crypto was, and it's like, okay, what is this? Why am I even in this anymore?
Not only can you see my transaction, but you can see my account and how much I've got in it and everything else. It's like, oh shit.
And
What was I
that was
thinking?
that was the principal reason why I got out in 2015, is because everybody had talked about for years about how it was anonymous. You know, even
Yep.
you know Antonopoulos, Andreas, you know, he was always talking about how it was anonymous. You know,
Yep.
Stefan Molyneux, some other Bitcoin advocate back in
Yeah.
the day, he was always talking about how it was fully anonymous and private. And in 2015, you know, I'm a developer and I'm sitting there getting down into the nuts and bolts of how this thing works and looking into the cryptography and looking into the linked lists that are involved, or blockchain. And it's just so obvious that this thing is not private
Yeah.
at all. And it was only
Yeah.
a very small number of people back in 2015 that even realized that. And then the Monero project was birthed from that realization. But that was why I got out. Is just it wasn't private. That was the main issue. Is it wasn't fungible.
Yeah, it's it was pretty disappointing when I figured that. Well, I guess I didn't figure it out. More of like I listened to Richard and he's like, dude, what are you guys doing? Like, because I'm not like that. I don't have the technical background like you do. I'm like more of kind of just like I'm a good, I guess a good learner or a good listener, and I can just like listen and be like, oh yeah, okay, that does make sense. And I can choose who's that actually knows their shit. I can you know, that's that's one of my good qualities. I can know who's talking shit and who's actually knows their shit. And so yeah, that's always been like, so yeah. And I figured Richard, like, okay, he's literally the only guy that I'll go for crypto advice anymore. Pretty much, you know, that's one of those high guys, you know, like I feel like everybody else kind of has their own like agenda going on. Like, oh, you're going to want to do this, but get into Bitcoin Cash while you're in on it. It's like, okay, what does Bitcoin Cash do? What? So.
Yeah, I was using Bitcoin thinking that it was secure. You know, I didn't know. And then I heard about this thing, Monero was coming out. And I'm like, what's that? Well, it's a privacy coin. What do you mean privacy coin? Crypto's private, right? No. You got to get a privacy coin in order to be private. Yeah. And then nobody wants to take it because if you use Monero, it's like, oh, what the fuck are you doing? You know?
Yeah.
Nobody wants it.
Let me put up my shield before I say this, but you know, Monero is not actually private either.
Is it not?
No.
Well, I mean, I always think it's funny because it's like, where are you getting the Monero from? An exchange? Oh, okay. So you're getting it from an exchange and you're putting your information down there. So how are you gonna like?
Well, it's the only way to get it.
But I mean, what's the technical about that? Like,
well, so what Monero does, and I'm getting flamed as I'm saying this. I feel Monero, all it does is it's like a shell game. It uses little decoys. So it takes a pool of coins and it just kind of flip-flops them and swaps them around. It says, "Hi, look at that. It's anonymous, guys." You know, it's really not. You can do the same thing with Bitcoin. It's just like
what's the difference between Tornado?
Oh, well, that's a big difference.
Oh, okay.
That's a very big difference. So Tornado Cash is actually using pure encryption for because they're using zero knowledge proof technology in Tornado Cash, which is totally different than Monero's decoy systems. So Monero is just kind of shuffling their stuff up, and you can still trace it, even though it's shuffled. You can still trace the movements around. Tornado Cash does not work that way. They put everything more or less into a pool, and it cannot be seen, which is very strange from blockchain, because it's like, how is the computer supposed to track this stuff if it can't be seen? Well, they figured out
because these oracles, right? Is it kind of an oracle situation or something that manages it?
No, they use zero knowledge proofs. It's a new type of space age math, really, is what it is. It's like they call it moon math. The CEO of Google called it moon math, and that's also the technology that Zcash uses. Hush, probably several others. Zero Coin, anyway, a whole bunch of them.
Do you see that stuff getting shut down in the near future? No, like I know that they were like trying, like somebody got in trouble recently for doing something with like, I can't remember, with something with privacy coins or something like that, and it was like because they were trying to do what's called washing it, or not washing it, but what's it called?
Laundering it.
Yeah.
Well, so there's a trick to these privacy coins, and my answer is I don't think they will get shut down. And I can go into why. The reason is for every, I'll use Zcash for an example because I know how it works. So with every if I send you Zcash, all you can see on the blockchain is that something moved. You have no idea where it came from. You have no idea where it went. You have no idea what the transacted amount was. That's not like Monero. Monero, you can see movements. Yeah, well, not everything. A lot of the stuff is blind. but there's still, you can see something. With Zcash, you can't see anything. It's just totally, absolutely nothing. It's just a black box. Monero's not like that. But here's the trick. There's something called a view key. So if you take your view key and give it to Uncle Sam can see in that black box, and he can see everything that happens. So what could happen in that circumstance, and what I think would happen, is eventually everyone would be mandated that they had to use a privacy coin when transacting back and forth, just the same way that all banks have to use HTTPS. I mean, if you try to use HTTP clear text to do your banking stuff right now, or to send or to send a credit card information, people would, you know, that's illegal. You can't do that. So for that reason, I think that privacy coins do have a really bright future. And you can look at JPM coin. You know, JP Morgan is putting together JPM coin, and they're basing that on top of their Quorum technology, which is a fork basically of Ethereum, which integrates ZK snarks in order to provide the privacy in their stablecoin. Because there's, when you are sending money somewhere, let's say you go to Walmart or whatever and move money from your bank to Walmart, it's a national security concern if the Chinese can come in and see everything that's happening internally in our economic system. That's a security concern. And that's another reason why I sold Bitcoin, is it's absolutely infeasible for something like that to ever be a true multinational medium of exchange, because it would violate every Banking Secrecy Act law in the book, and there are several of them. You can't just let you can't, you know, if JP Morgan or Chase Bank, if they were to go over their printer and start printing everybody's bank statements and posting them in the front window, I mean, they would get shut down. And that's essentially what Bitcoin does. But so for that reason, I think that the privacy coins, especially the zero knowledge based privacy coins, like what, you know, Ethereum is now, has that capability, and something like Zcash and all these others, that stuff like that would be very valuable. The thing about Zcash, though, is you can't, number one, it's getting dumped by miners constantly. Number two, it's got a dev team that they're constantly dumping coins out of in order to fund the dev team. Number three, there's no smart contract capability. There's just a whole lot of downsides. Ethereum's got all the smart contract stuff, and they've got the zero knowledge technology hard coded in so that it can be used, and you can create something like Tornado Cash. It's I think it's going to end up doing pretty well because of that.
Yeah.
So Tornado Cash, when you send Ethereum to it, because that's what it takes. It just takes Ethereum, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you send Ethereum to it. That transaction there is really the last seen transaction. So just, as I'm thinking about for legal purposes, or so, if somebody was to look at what was going on there, so I can see that you sent money to, or funds to Tornado Cash, but then after that, I lose it.
I'm not sure if it can even be seen that was going to Tornado Cash or not. I would have to look into that. I'm not sure if you can actually differentiate when that send happens, if it can be, if it's obvious that it went to Tornado Cash or not. It may not be obvious. It may look like any old transaction.
Well, there would be an Ethereum transaction, wouldn't there?
I think
there would be an Ethereum transaction, but it may not necessarily be strange looking. But it probably would be, but I don't know.
Well, if it was a big amount, like if you were sending, say you sent, $50 million into Tornado Cash, then that transaction would be seen from, like say you send it through MetaMask or whatever, that would be seen through that.
That initial movement would, yes.
I did like a tutorial on my channel on how to use Tornado Cash, and I've used it, and it's pretty legit. Like they say you should wait 24 hours just so it can get mixed up with even more coins than actually just the coins that you have. But
it jumbles everything around and then spits it back out.
Yes, especially with $50 million, because you would be the big whale. So all of a sudden you would have this big block going into a shielded pool, and then there would be a bunch of little tiny transactions coming out of the shielded pool, and then this big block will look like
everybody knows this is getting out.
But see here
in a washing machine.
Yeah, but see, Tornado Cash actually prevents this, because they make you put in an equal quantity. So whenever you use it, you'll notice they force you to put in 10 Ethereum, or they force you to put in 1 Ethereum, or 0.1, or maybe even 100. But they force you to put in an equal amount, such that when it comes out on the other side of the shielded pool, they're all completely identical, and you can't tell which is which.
Okay.
And Zcash used to work like that a long time ago, but now it doesn't work that way. Monero used to work that way a long time ago. Monero used to force all these set amounts like that. So Tornado Cash is probably still a nascent technology. I expect that it's going to become vastly more powerful than it is even today.
Yeah. So do you like Ethereum, or is there any other platforms that you really are looking at, or is like Ethereum? You like Ethereum, or mostly what kind of coin? Like, let's just say, like, what other coins do you like other than Hex? That would be a good question.
So the coin that I sold to get my Hex was Zcash. I like Zcash. I think that it's what Bitcoin was supposed to be. It's actually private, but it's still not that great compared to Ethereum because it doesn't have the smart contract capability. You can't collect interest on Zcash, and things like that are absolutely going to be fundamental going forward in this zero interest rate environment. The only pumpamental that Zcash has is adoption, and there's nobody using it. Nobody uses Zcash because nobody cares about their privacy. They simply don't care.
Yeah.
And there's no bank that's going to use it because the price is too volatile. The price is all over the place. So why would a bank ever hold something like that? It doesn't make
Yeah,
any
it doesn't
sense.
make. Yeah, that's what I always thought about, like people thinking that the institutional investors are coming in on Bitcoin or banks are gonna take it. It's like, no, dude, like there's 30% down days. Like there's no way that somebody's gonna buy. Like
Banks have the
I don't
highest
know.
they've got the highest paid developers in their midst that are looking at it going, oh, this is bullshit. I'm guaranteeing you they're not stupid. They've looked at it and went, why is everybody all excited about this thing? It's a fucking ugly ass database. They spend all this millions and millions of dollars on their security for their servers and how to handle their ledgers. It would make no sense to any financial institution to just say, oh yeah, let's jump over to this freaking Bitcoin.
These banks, they like the blockchain technology a lot, and they're
well, yeah.
And I'm not saying that you didn't say that. They're constantly developing on it, but they're developing the stable coins. They don't care about this free floating.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's not their game. They want.
They don't.
Coins.
They don't want that volatility and that shit. They want something that's going to be theirs and be the dollar.
Yeah,
that's
what
why
would they onboard their own? Why wouldn't they have enough money to make their own? That's what my opinion is on it. It's like they have enough money to get a couple of developers to make their own shitty database like that you guys made here and just fork Bitcoin. Like why wouldn't you just fork it and just make it and say, oh, this is the that was the easiest way to go. I'm not saying they could do something way even better.
They probably started out doing that, and their devs went, "No, fuck this thing. This thing sucks, man. Yeah. We can build something better than this. I'll bet you anything."
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't think that banks are afraid of crypto. I think banks want, like Good Texture just said, banks want to use the technology, cryptography, in order to create their own thing. I don't think they're afraid of crypto. I hear all the maxis out there talking about, oh, the banks are trembling and we're bringing them down, and I don't even think about it, guys. They ain't trembling. They don't have a lot of money. They have all the money.
Yeah,
they make
all the money.
Yeah.
They have all the money. No, and some, because all the money that is created, they get to make more of it. So they got more than all the money.
And I think their deposit reserve requirements were actually removed at the beginning of the the Toyota Corolla situation. The Corolla.
Coronavirus.
Yeah, we're not supposed to say that word though. You can't say it because like YouTube will flag it or something, right? So people call it the Toyota Corolla, I think. But what was this? But anyway, I saw on Zero Hedge that how they're supposed to keep 10% of all deposits. They can't fractionally reserve that. They have to have that 10%. From what I understand, don't quote me on this, but from what I understand, that requirement got removed because the financial stress was so bad.
So it's even worse now.
Now they're just going willy-nilly, going crazy.
Just running sprinters.
Now they've blown 10,000% or whatever that they got on fractional.
the stock market to me is just insane that it just continues to go up while we're in a pandemic. It's just like it just keeps going up. I mean, it did go down 30%, but man, it's still going.
And I've been telling people since this thing started, do not short the stock market. The stock market does not ever have to crash again because the people in control can just sit there and inject infinite money into it. How can it fall?
That's what they're doing. Money in
hey, you need some more money over there, bro? Here, let me put this in the computer. There you go. You got it, bro.
We're good, man. We're good.
You need it. Like that's why you don't see any of these big companies fail. I think what's really going to happen is just the small businesses are going to take a hit, and that's about it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, of course, it's always who takes the hit is the little guy. I mean, what Good Texture just said. Now, it may or may not be true. He said, and we're not, we're just speculating on whether it's true. But if they took that fractional reserve component out of their, or took that away from them having to comply with that, that means that they could be out there. Right. The reason the stock market could have went back up is they could be loaning all these fools money and they're buying their own goddamn stocks back again. Like they did the tax break. They got tax break. They bought all their stocks back. All the freaking exit scam CEOs left last year and a half. And now they're buying back their own stock with money that the government's printing out, like the Burr machine, like they say,
Exactly.
I mean, if that's possibly what could be going on right now.
I don't think the stock market will crash again. I know that sounds crazy. It's different this time.
They figured it out. The Great Depression, they didn't print money. They were afraid of that during the Depression.
It was backed by gold.
It was actually backed by something, not thin air.
Yeah. And everybody their asses kicked, and they had to really pull themselves out. Now it's like, oh, wait a minute, we could print money and it still works like it did before. And oh wait, everything's all good. Turn it on, print that shit. Go. Give it away too. Just send everybody money. Then let them, And I don't even know what kind of damage that's really doing. It's, I mean, they keep saying, "Oh, it's going to make the dollar worthless." No, the dollar was already worthless.
Yeah,
the dollar was already worthless, but it was better than everything else that's out there. So, like you said, how is it going to crash the dollar, or how is it going to crash the stock market when you can't?
Yeah, we might be surprised at how long they can kick this thing down the road.
Yeah, I think we'll see little countries burn before we see America, because everything runs on American dollars. So it's like you're going to see everything burn before, not trying to say that we're the best, but I mean, that's just if you go somewhere else, like I've been all across like different places, if you give them a $1 bill, they're like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. They're like, okay, we'll take this. You hand them an Australian dollar. They're like, dude, get the, you go to Middle East. I was in the Middle East. They'll take $1, but they ain't going to take your Australian money. They don't give a shit about your Australian money. They're like, dude, what is this?
You ain't sending a yen. You can walk into any country in the world and hand them $1, and they will take that shit and give you whatever they got in their hand. But you go anywhere else in the world trying to hit a yen down or a guinea or a freaking pence or any of that shit, it ain't happening.
Yeah, I think after Zimbabwe's currency collapse, they then adopted the American dollar as their currency.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the de facto currency of Zimbabwe is the dollar. So, let's just say that somehow the American dollar, quote unquote, collapsed, whatever that means. In Zimbabwe, they're still using dollar bills from the 90s happily. They're not going to care that the dollar collapsed. They're going to keep using that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like everybody else.
Everything else is fucked.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me how it collapses, because it's just like we can keep printing more. Like if the whole world starts to burn, that's about it. But there's not there has to be some kind of tradable cash money that's going through. And if the dollar is the top, like it's not going to. It just can't. And I'm not trying to be like this guy that's like, it'll never happen. Like, like you said, but it's like, it's very implausible that it might happen because so much more factors to it.
You go back to people use Weimar Germany as an example all the time of what happens when a currency collapses. Weimar Germany's Deutschmark was not the world reserve currency. You did not have people in the Middle East trading Deutschmarks that don't care what it's worth. This has never happened in the history. You've never in the history of the world have had the worldwide global reserve currency that's getting printed like this. The only other a good example would be the British pound. The British pound is ancient. It's like from the 16 or 1700s or something like that. It is the oldest fiat currency in the world, I believe, and it has still not collapsed because from what I understand, I may be wrong on this, but from what I understand, it was a world reserve currency type currency, and it's never gone away because so many people use it.
Yeah, and I think that's what it, and Crypto Mom said this the best. It's backed by the military, and if we just keep buying more military, you can't take us down. What are you gonna do? Oh, you want to collapse our dollar? Okay, how about we give you a little freedom? How about we show you what freedom's all about?
Let's give you a dose of freedom. Here, taste this.
How about we come to your country and give you a little freedom?
But what she said is the military industrial complex. And that's different than just the military, because we're talking about a support system, an ecosystem that is humongous, ginormous. I live out here in California, and it's not so much anymore, but it used to be everything out here was for, development for military and government projects. I mean, it was just crazy how much was going on out here. So it's really about the money moving. And I think that the problem right now is money is starting to stop and slow down and get plugged up in places. There's a lot of big money that's sitting on the sidelines that is doing nothing. They accumulated the greed, and you could only buy so many Ferraris. You could only buy so many mansions. You could only, multi-million-dollar exit scam CEOs out of their companies before, that money just sits somewhere and continues to just, glutton itself. It just keeps perpetuating itself. And the real people that, with the financial power or energy are us, our kids buying Jordans that shouldn't have Jordans on their feet, or, guys putting rims on their cars that shouldn't have rims on their cars. It's, us going out to dinner when we shouldn't go out to dinner. It's that kind of money being spent that actually creates the economic energy, not these big fat cats with all the money that's putting it off on the sidelines. Money's getting stuffed up. It needs to move, and we got to have something to do. And that's here. I'm gonna get back on my Mars soapbox. Got to go to Mars. We got to go to freaking Mars. Come on, Elon, man, get us to Mars, bro. Because I've worked in industry for many, many years. I was a millwright by trade. So I moved heavy equipment. I built machinery. That's what I did for a living. And I built, McDonnell Douglas, NASA, Boeing, everything out here, JPL. I worked at all these places. And back in, back in the early 90s, all these places were booming. They were freaking cities within themselves. They had ecosystems. They had police forces. They had fire departments. They were just, everybody that worked there was happy, smiling. I mean, and the money was flowing. Everybody was buying homes. Everybody was buying new cars. Everybody was going on vacations, and the work wasn't so hard because we had put together a little thing called the shuttle program, and the shuttle program supported so many different industries out there and created so many new technologies, Wi-Fi, computers, all these things advanced because of the moon landing and the shuttle program, and those were all government-funded programs in the beginning, and then the money moved. And it kept moving, and all the people with the financial energy had that money in their hands to spend and keep the machine going. Well, shuttle program's gone. Everything's being privatized, taking money out of the government for these programs. NASA's on it, flat on its face now, and we have this thing called Mars out there that we should be going to, and we should be developing technologies and sustainable ecosystems for, people to live on that planet, and ways to scrub, oxygen out of nothing, and ways to grow plants, and all of these things that can be developed from that Mars program can help create more financial energy, in my opinion. I've been like a big advocate for this Mars thing because, I think that that's what's going to kind of push financial energy back into the economy, is those types of programs. And of course, it's going to be battery technologies, different types of vehicles and tires, and all these different things are going to come from a program like that, just like the moon program brought us cell phones and microwaves and all that shit.
I just think that like the government spending has gone too, like they just spend it on stupid shit. They just like, hey, yeah, you got an idea, here you go. This is, instead of like what you're saying, like having a direct idea.
It's not wrong though.
And having the country behind it, a direct idea, like you said, like Mars. If we wanted to go to Mars, get the whole country behind that. I think that there's so many like, let's start solar panels, like not. See, I think that's awesome. Or the green or whatever, be green.
And that's a false narrative.
Only half of the country gets behind it, and then like it just falls apart. Oh, there goes but go ahead. Sorry,
I'm going to argue with you on this one because see, it's not about the money going to something stupid. Something stupid is just fine. It doesn't matter where the money goes, as long as it's moving around.
We're getting
we got feedback from you now.
Sorry, bro.
I got my battery's dead, folks.
Okay. Anyway,
my headphone jack and my battery jack are the same jack.
iPhone.
Oh, we know now. We know.
No, it's Android. It's Android.
Oh, is it? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, y'all. I don't want to give y'all echo though.
No.
All right, bro. Hey, thanks for getting on again.
Hey, good seeing y'all. Nice meeting y'all.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, bro. We'll see you. So back to the economic energy. What has happened is the government money hasn't gone away. The government spending hasn't gone away.
Oh, I know.
They've just shifted it from one area to another. Now, when it's in the military and when it's in space programs and when it's going to community programs, it's turning into economic energy, the people that are spending it. When it changes and it shifts and it starts going into tax cuts and big corporations and those types of projects, then the money starts to gum up and starts to stop. It's not getting down into where the money's being spent, because if the people that are spending the money don't have it, then the money just gums up and it just doesn't flow anymore.
Yeah, I think that like I don't know, like those big projects, like Crypto Mom said, clean energy, carbon capture, self-driving cars, nanotechnology, 5G, IoT, Internet of Things, etc., are all moonshots. Those things, like, dude, that's what like we need something to get onto. Like, I think that like wars are what we've been spending our money on. Like that's where we're like, hey, let's go get some oil, and now oil's now all that oil that we tried to get for, not saying that that's all we went there for, but hey, that's what we went there for. It's like, well, maybe now it's worth nothing. And now what are we going to do with, what have we been doing the last 25 years because we've been trying to get oil, and now oil is $0. And now it's, what do we do now? We need to get rid of oil.
Yeah, we need to get rid. We need to make oil worthless. Is what we need to do.
Well, it's already
almost
there.
Went worthless.
It's already.
But we need to make it worthless and need it. We don't need it, And once we do that, then we change the power system of the whole globe, and then things like what Crypto Mom is talking about can start to come to fruition because of course this country needs infrastructure. I mean, the freaking bridges and roads and all that shit can be improved.
Right? I don't understand why it's not like. I go to California and you have to pay for private roads. Like, why aren't? But it's like,
and it's ridiculous.
And I know that's everywhere. Like now, it's like private roads. This is a private road. It's like, how did they get a private road? And why am I having to pay for the roads when it used to be free for everything? But these are the nicest roads. Like if you go to the private roads, it's like, wow, these are nice.
It is. It's a nice freeway.
Faster. And it's like, but if they just opened it up for everybody or built an actual freeway that supports the community that pays for the taxes behind that, instead of giving it to
it.
Oh, I know. Like I know how they're
check this out.
Some shady stuff.
You want to hear the real story behind it? Because I live in the world's worst corridor. I live on what's a corridor called the 91 freeway. Okay. Not to dox myself, but whatever.
Just did.
There's a corridor out here, right? And it's the worst traffic on planet Earth. It's a 15-mile stretch of freeway, and it takes you sometimes 2 to 3 hours to drive that 15 miles. It's literally a parking lot.
Jeez.
So they built a thing called the fast track. And the fast track is that road. And what they do is they charge you monthly to drive on that road.
Yeah.
And it shaves an hour off of your time. Maybe sometimes only a half hour, 45 minutes. But when it's a bad Friday, it shaves an hour off of your time. And here's the freaking screwy part about this. When that thing was first launched, California sold that thing to an Australian developer. It wasn't even an American. It was an Australian. So he developed that road, built it, and was sucking money. And this thing isn't cheap to drive. This is like
it's like
$3, $4,
$4.
$5 a day to go one way. And that ain't the worst of it. So the city sued the cities that got congested so bad, sued the state of California and won. State of California had to buy it back from this Australian for an ungodly amount of money. Ungodly amount of money.
Jeez.
Right? So this guy walked away like freaking he made out.
Good. Dang.
Now check this out. When California bought that thing back, that road now costs you, hold on to your hats, $21 a ride on a Friday afternoon.
What?
To go 15 miles. And I am
Holy
not
shit.
exaggerating. Now, on different days, it's different prices, different times,
Right,
it's different prices.
The $21 is like the what you can
21
get to. Holy shit.
And guess what? That thing is packed. Packed with $21 riders. Packed. It's not like it's sparse. It's packed because the other side is stopped like a
See, and
freaking
like
parking lot.
when Elon Musk talks about I don't give it, like, I know you like the Mars, but I would rather get like some actual shit like that where it's like what is he doing? Like the car that goes super fast.
Yeah.
Like that is like, I feel like I don't live in any kind of like traffic like that. Like, but going
It's called
to
the hyperlink.
I built
the tubes for the hyperlink.
Oh, really? That's
yeah.
cool.
So over at SpaceX, there's a street. There's a mile-long street, and it's got this tube that goes all the way down it. You can literally, if you look at SpaceX, if you go to the Google Maps, you'll see this tube. I built that tube, and the tube goes all the way down the railroad tracks there, and they shoot these magnetic cars through this thing.
Yeah.
And they've been having contests for the last few years to who could build the best. It's like a rail gun is what it is.
Yeah.
And they shoot these things down the tube and up and down the street.
And that's what I think, that we should get the infrastructure of America done first before we start getting to like going to other planets, because that's I don't know, like, you know, letting the people suffer here, but being able to get 20 people up to Mars is one thing. But it's like, man, let's take care of our people first, like our people, you know, stop giving our money to everybody else for one, and letting everybody else come over here and just making it even more like worse for everybody. You know, like that's just my kind of thoughts on it. Like, let's get the infrastructure done here, and let's be happy in America, because man, it seems like it's about to, like, always, you know, not very, very much polarizing at this point. And I don't even care. I don't even watch any of the news. Like, I hate the news, but it's like, man, it's always just crazy. But
yeah, we're getting way off topic. That's for sure.
And Hex
and Hex's place in all of this is it's a certificate of deposit.
Well, I hope
Hex exists on the blockchain.
Yeah, hopefully Hex is gonna do something better.
It ain't gonna matter to us. It ain't gonna matter to us next year, bro. They can do whatever they want with their money, because you know, my hopes are that you and I'll be on some island retired somewhere.
Beautiful. That's where we're gonna be. All right. Well, I'm gonna go make my thumbnail.
All right, bro. All right, everybody. Thanks for getting on the stream
good
with us.
Dude, good texture. I see that he's in the comments. Thanks, bro, for coming on, man. We should get you on. Like, you would be somebody that's really good with Richard Hart, like, to talk to Richard Hart, because you guys seems like you guys have
they have an intellectual mind, kind of same level, not like crayon eaters, like dude,
like, for sure. You should, like, I'll put, well, he probably saw you on here today, but you should
I sent him the link earlier, and you know, always keep them informed of what we're doing.
Yeah, it'd be awesome to see you guys on a stream together. So
yep. So we'll have him on again, because we have some other questions. We're gonna hold his feet to the fire on the share price deal, because we still haven't completely figured it out. I'm gonna let anybody off the hook until we understand it. Until I understand it completely. I'm sure there's people out there that get it, but I don't. All right, guys. Thanks for getting on with short notice with us. We appreciate you all. And again, like, comment, subscribe, hit the like button, hit a comment, say something, tell us we're assholes, whatever. And then, you know, subscribe and let everybody know about it. And thanks to whoever started. We had some donations come in. So we're already starting to see a little bit of ETH pop in the I'm going to trade in for Hex so that we can have Hex to spend at the big payday party. So whatever's donated to the channel is going to go for the big payday party, and something that, you know, us Discourse Syndicate's going to do for the community. And thanks for those of you who are already starting to donate. All right, guys, have a good one. We'll catch you on the next one Sunday, right?
Yep.
All right, we'll see you Sunday. Later, bro.